that Arlen Specter, just to say it, voted against 4 Pell increases, or the largest education cut, or underfunding No Child Left Behind. We will have 4.4 youth that will not go to college, 4.4 million, by 2022 because they cannot afford it. It's why, since I've been in Congress, we've cut the direct loan. This is how we have to do it. From 6.8 from government to 3.4. We have increased the Pell Grants over $1,000, and we'll increase it over another $1,500 over the next 8 years under a pay-as-you-go government. We found this year, in addition, $85 billion by cutting out the middleman who used to get a fee for taking government money and turning around as a loan. And now that $85 billion is going into Stafford loans and even more for Pell Grants. In short, I honestly believe we have to. It's not trying to stop China. It's a free country. It's not as free as we are. But we have to get the national debt. We have to get our education going. We have to bring it into those national international organizations that matter so much. How? By regaining leadership in them. The United Nations, WTO. Not walking away from the Kyoto Treaty like we did and becoming a leader at Copenhagen, the next one. And where we reassert our leadership because it's in our interest to do so. And finally, we have to browbeat them in the lawn. The way they are able to just place what they want for its value is wrong, and we do have to fight that, as well as the subsidies. And President Obama is the first president in the last 9 years that has actually twice stood up to China and said, you're subsidizing both on tires and on steel to do it. I'm not about just closing down our walls, but when they're breaking the agreements, look, I'm going to be right up front. I don't have all the answers. But I do know that our quality of life is going to be affected by how well we compete. When I ran the first time, I said by 2050, if economists say India will be the second largest economy in the world, China #1, we will be third. That impacts your grandchildren. And that's why this question is so important. It's why we must resolve issues like the Middle East or tribe or Afghanistan and get about national security dependent upon our educational prowess to compete in an economy. This is why the cap and trade bill is so important. Imagine if we, with a $2 billion for the economic stimulus bill and elsewhere, developed the capture and sequestration for coal and sell it to China for their 526 plants they're building for electricity that are fuel powered. There's so much we can do with the right type of investment in the right technologies and education. I'm sorry to go on. This is an issue I feel we're missing out on, and our nation has to approach it much better than we have.
Ray, you had a question.
Two matters that I think are important to working people in Pennsylvania. Perhaps you could tell us your position on. One is the Employee Free Choice Act, which would allow unions an opportunity to have a more level playing field in organizing workers. And the second is the proposed tax on health insurance benefits.
Yes. I'll talk about, you know, I'm an original co-sponsor of my first session. It came out of my committee. I voted for it. I voted on the House floor, and it passed in the language in the Senate. And I'm a real co-sponsor of it this year, but it's not going anywhere. I mean, you know that. Pardon me?
Of what?
Of what?
Sponsor of which?
Oh, Employee Free Choice Act. All right? And all that. Second, and here's why. There is a reason. I sat down with the NLRB of the Bush administration. In 2007, they did a study. It isn't just that I joined up because my voting record is 97% for unions, and I do it. I looked at the facts. And the facts are, by a 2007 study with the NLRB that Bush administration headed, is 32% of the time that workers try to organize, there is firing or intimidation. 42% of the time, once they get past the right to, and then they go for a contract, you never get to a contract because there's 5 administrative and legal ways you can just delay it so it's past its time. Second, this excise tax that the Senate has placed upon the health insurance plans, they call them the catalytic plans. No, 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 no. And this might have been, because I haven't seen George Stephanopoulos, this is what I was talking about on Ed Schultz as well as something else. I talked about 2 or 3 things, so I haven't seen George. We were on the road. is that
This is what was on George.
it was,
Yes.
is what people don't recognize is they tied it to the wrong inflation rate. Even if you don't agree with it, they really did damage. They tied it to CPI. Consumer Price Index 1 to 2% a year. Do you know that health inflation is 7 or 8% a year? Last year it dropped to 5 because of the recession, but normally it's 7 and 8. That means by 2019, 1/3 of everybody will be pulled into that tax. That tax is 40 cents for every dollar that you have over, like a single guy, $8,000. And eventually, over the next decade, everybody will be pulled in. This is going to pull in even little Volkswagens, never mind Cadillacs. This is how the Senate made things look good and didn't explain to the public what's really done in that bill. I was on a conference call with the Speaker and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, our Majority Leader, about 3 days ago, right after the President. They are all in agreement. To change the excise tax, if we can't get rid of it, at least raise it way, way up there. You know, those for the executives that get the. What's a better car than a Cadillac? I mean, I'm driving a little Mercedes, you know what I mean? Because and get it indexed that it doesn't affect the workers, because the workers understand they traded wages off for these health care benefits. They made deals on this, and now they're pulled in. And plus it differs geographically. So I've been out there banging away on this issue. There's some real damage in this bill on the Senate side.
Hey,
Question?
Sandy?
Yeah, I have followed you since you first started to run for Congress, and
3 years ago, 4 years
and
ago.
have not found anything that I did not agree with you on until Afghanistan. And I really would like to hear the reasons that you have taken the position.
And I'd like to talk about that. I want you to know that I knew that this decision would be more politically challenging for me in a Democratic primary. In fact, I came out with my position 6 weeks or so before the President and sent an op-ed to every newspaper in Pennsylvania, radio and television station, and put it up, because I want people to know where I sit. Because I knew. I mean, I want you to know I'm not saying things because I want to have labor agree with me. I'm saying because I believe them. Here's how I came down on my position. First off, I think I have a little bit of, doesn't mean it's better, because I respect people on the side, but I try to bring my experience to this, which is fairly unique. Having served in the White House, very few in Congress ever have. Most of them try to get to the White House. But I also was on the ground, head the Navy's anti-terrorism unit, was stationed at the Pentagon when 9/11 happened. To me, it is not about Afghanistan. I don't agree that we should be putting any reliance, as some of the administration has been doing, upon the weak reed of that inept, corrupt government. 7, 8 years ago, yes. But it spiraled too far downward, as the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff said 2.5 years ago. I believe for this increase in troops that I support the President on for one reason. Al-Qaeda, that does have a safe haven with several hundred Al-Qaeda in the very top of their leadership in Pakistan. And forming a strategic partnership as well as an operational partnership with Pakistan, where we cannot go there except with some covert work. And they must be convinced to go from south to north Waziristan to eliminate that safe haven, which means taking down the Taliban that are against them as well as against us on that side of the border. It is to have a strategic, as the President said, is one of his 3 purposes, partnership with Pakistan to do what I believe needs to be done for our safety. But also an operational thing, as Secretary Perry said in a closed hearing. A primary reason for those troops is to close and help seal that border. So when I was on the ground and saw them go that way, as Pakistan is finally beginning to go up, they don't come across if we are not there.